Thank you for tuning in to the Queen's Court podcast, a space curated for women by women. Here we celebrate empowerment, faith, sisterhood, and growth. So pull up a seat, settle in, and let's step into the rain room together.
Welcome back to the Queen's Court, a space curated for women by women where faith, sisterhood, and real conversations meet. I'm your host, Neicey Ford, and today we're closing our Becoming series. So this is the finale of the trilogy. We started with between who I am and who I'm becoming. Then we moved into becoming, learning to let real love in. And today we step fully into the arrival, walking in the evidence. This is the proof that you are no longer the woman that you used to be, or simply put, you're becoming her, the woman you prayed, cried, and grew for. You may have done it kicking and screaming because for a lot of us, change is hard. But aren't you glad that God kept shaping you, what Joel Osteen always says, behind the scenes? So today, we're talking about what it looks like to finally live as her. So go ahead and grab your tea, your coffee, your wine, if you need, your journal, and I'll wait. Go ahead. One thing that I want to make perfectly clear as we get started is that you don't become her overnight. And here's the part that people don't always tell you. When people talk about someone's glow up, they're usually talking about or looking at a picture of the person's younger self in comparison to what they look like current day, right? I always laugh at this because this image comes to mind of my daughters when they were younger. We were going to take pictures and I put them all in these t-shirts that had baby girl on the front, and then their hair was in some straight back braids with the braid hair. And every now and again, when I go through the old photo albums, I'll come across that picture and I'll send it in our group chat. And they'll all respond talking about their glow up. And it tickles me because we're talking about 20 years ago. And granted, it didn't take them 20 years to glow up or grow out of the straight backs or the baby girl t-shirts, but it was a gradual growth. And that's the same thing when we're talking about becoming her. It's not something that's going to happen instantaneously. It's not something that happens overnight. It is a gradual growth. In addition to it being a gradual growth, it's also a decision. It's a decision to stop accepting things that we used to accept, like half love, half effort, and half truth, and refuse to accept anything that cannot meet you at your level. You're no longer able to live from the identity that you had to build in your wounded seasons. So you have to take yourself off safety and survival mode and step into wholeness. And let me give you some examples of what that looks like. It looks like being hyper independent because no one showed up for you, even though you showed up for everybody else. And I'm evidence of this one big time. It's also overachieving to feel like you're worthy and then staying guarded to avoid being hurt again. And I'm guilty of this one as well. I'm quick to, or at least I was, quick to build walls, but building walls don't necessarily keep people out um, as often as they do keeping you in. So, like I said, I'm evidence of all of this because life hurt me. I went through trauma, betrayal, stress, and I had to create a version of myself that was designed to survive. When we're forced into survival mode, we don't know what to do or how we're going to do it. But baby, you damn sure better believe we're going to get it done, and we're going to adapt, and we're going to do it quickly. So I said all of that to say this. You don't have to keep living as the person you became when you were hurting. Becoming her again is a choice. It's a choice that you make to stop living from the identity that you built in your wounded seasons and step out of survival mode so that you can finally live from wholeness. The woman that you're becoming, she's not built on fear, heartbreak, or doubt, but she is built on wisdom that came after that break. Every experience teaches us a lesson, or at least it should, right? So she's also built on the strength that she didn't know that she had and the healing that she never thought that she would see. Becoming her means walking differently because you know differently. I tell people all the time the same thing that Maya Angelou said, and that is when you know better, you do better. And sugar, you don't have any excuses now. So in episode 1, we talked about the in between. Episode 2, we talked about the cocoon. And now in episode 3, we're going to talk about shedding. Becoming her means shedding. So it means shedding the version of you that apologized for your needs, that tolerated inconsistency, that traded pieces of yourself for a place in someone else's world. And baby, I promised myself that I would never do that again. And it's also shedding the version of you that feared being too much and loved from the version of you that loved from insecurity. I went to work the other day and I don't know what I was taking in, but I had a whole bunch of bags with me, and one of my peers called me bag lady. And it reminded me of that because I literally heard Erica, the things that I just went over as far as the what we're shedding, the version of you that you're shedding. All of those things reminded me of Erica. I heard Erica Badu's bag lady in my mind while seeing the image of myself carrying all of that stuff into the office. And the words, bag lady, you gonna hurt your back, dragging all them bags like that, because that stuff was heavy. And if you think about all the stuff that we carry and hold on to from day to day, that stuff gets heavy. The load is heavy. And so when you think about hurting your back, or even when you see older women that kind of hunch over, you know, think about what all this weight, this extra baggage that you're carrying is doing to you. So take this as your reminder, bag lady. You can't become her while dragging every old version of yourself with you. Because at some point, you have to stop surviving your story and start rewriting it. And if you need stationery and pens, baby, I swear I got you. I do. Who is she? The woman that you're becoming, who is she? Let me tell you who she is. She's a woman who moves with clarity now and speaks with confidence. She loves from a healthier place these days, not from the old pain that she's used to, not from the wounds that she hasn't healed from yet. She's learned how to set boundaries without feeling guilty about it. And she's not afraid of being alone because she understands that aloneness isn't loneliness, it's peace of mind. And you cannot, I've said this before, you cannot put a price on a peace of mind. And I just told someone this the other day. I don't mind being by myself because I love the hell out of me. And I meant that. I truly do. I can take myself out on dates. I can have movie nights. I love me some me. So if you're not there yet, that's fine, but that's something that we need to work on and work towards, loving you so that you can become her. But anyways, so this woman, you she's the restored version of you. And the beautiful thing about that is you didn't lose yourself to become her. You just returned to yourself. And I like to think of it as your reemergence. So you can say it's the reemergence of and put your name, like the reemergence of Neicey. So it's the reemergence of and insert your name in that blank space. But it's again not you losing yourself to become her. You just return to yourself, the reemergence of yes. In episode 2, we talked about learning to receive love. Now we're going to talk about what the love looks like once you're finally able to hold it. When you become her, you love differently. You don't trip about the things that you used to care about or crash out about, as young folks say. You don't fear losing him because if he leaves, his absence only opens the door for who was meant to show up anyways. And we ain't checking cell phones, doll face. Like those days are long gone, okay? A healed woman doesn't love harder, she loves healthier, and she requires the same thing in return. Becoming her is also spiritual. You don't reach this version without God's hand being all in it. He is 110% involved in this journey, like this becoming. This version of you is a version that prays differently, listens, moves, discerns, and trusts differently. When I was studying the other night, I came up with a whole monthly Bible plan for myself because that's one of the journeys that I'm on. I'm trying to get a closer, not that I don't have a relationship with Christ or God, but I'm trying to go deeper into into my studies, into my spirituality. So I designed a whole Bible plan for myself, and I was studying the other night and I was reading the book of Ruth. And in the book of Ruth, I came across, in reading about the section where Naomi had lost her husband, then she lost her two sons, and she told her daughter in laws to go back and return to their people. But Ruth was determined that she was going with Naomi. And determined is one of my words for 2026. And so as I'm reading it and I continue on, and then it talks about how Naomi changed her name from Naomi to Mara. And so I get to thinking, and I'm like, she changed her name from Naomi to Mara, which means bitter. And she changed it because of her situation. She changed her name because of the situation she was in. And I wanted to know like why she would make a permanent decision to change. She would make a decision to change her name, which was going to be something permanent based on her temporary situation. Because just because she was in the season that she was in, that's not the season that she was gonna always be in. She wasn't gonna remain there. But yet a decision based on a she made a permanent decision based on a temporary situation. And I'm just thankful because in the end, God turned it around. But how many times have we done that? And then it had me thinking, like what's my name? What have I been speaking to myself that I need to change? In the study for the day before, I was reading Joel's, I think it's 30 minutes. It's 30 minutes a day or something. It's an inspiration. And I was reading that and it was talking about changing the name. And it told the story of Rachel, how Rachel had named her son one thing, but then Abraham named him Benjamin. And so it was like the changing of the name. So for me, I'm trying to fit these puzzle pieces together. But I started thinking about what do I call myself? Like what am I speaking over myself when for instance, if I don't know, if I were to apply for a job and I didn't get it, would I call myself unqualified? You know, but that's a naming thing. So we call ourselves, unqualified, unworthy, things like that. So we really got to I don't even know where that came from, y'all. I'm sorry. But we really have to be careful about what we call ourselves. And I'm a big stickler about names. So call yourself the name that the Lord gave you, which is worthy, so you are worthy, more than a conqueror. So you got to speak those things over yourself. So I digress. Let's get back to what we are. So as you're becoming her, like I said, it is spiritual. Oh, and what I was gonna say is I broke down into a full blown tears, like while I was doing the study too. But again, trying to fit the pieces of the puzzle together. So again, I digress. I'm gonna go back. But this version of yourself that you are becoming too, like you hear God in ways that you didn't before. And I can truly say that it's true for me because even with that situation, I am starting to hear him differently and I'm starting to obey him in areas that used to scare me as well. And when we get into that close relationship or that spiritual realm where we are growing and becoming closer with God, it's easier for us to obey, and like I said, and listen. So when he tells me to let go of something that he didn't send me, baby, I'm like, okay, here we go. And if I'm to embrace what he did send me, then I'm gonna hold on to that as well. But I'll let go of whatever it is real quick. That's one of the things I love about me too. But we also recognize that sometimes when we do elevate in certain situations, like it requires separation from certain things as well. We talked about this when we talked about the pruning season. But even with the pruning season, like the pruning season was about preparation and the heartbreak that I experienced and that you probably have experienced too. When you think about the heartbreak, don't think so much about what happened to you, but what's happening through you, because it's going to redirect you, and you're going to end up on the path that God has set for you anyways. And then we talked about the cocoon. So that cocoon moment where, it's not about hiding, it's about healing and transformation. And again, when you think about a cocoon and you think about a caterpillar, and when it does emerge, it emerges as a beautiful butterfly. So our becoming of her, hiding or not hiding, but healing ourselves in this cocoon for transformation, is going to be our reemergence of, again, insert your name. So becoming is not an accident. It is definitely an alignment. Okay. You know that you've become her when you can actually look in the mirror and say, I don't look like what I've been through. I look like where I'm going. And your peace is, again, is non-negotiable, because you cannot put a price on your peace of mind. When I realized that I had become her, and like I said, this is something that I just mentioned, when I was able to release what wasn't in alignment with me without hesitation. So I always pray when I get that feeling, and I always pray and I ask God if it's, if somebody's in my life that's not meant for me or in alignment with the will that he has for me and the plans that he has for my life, then I ask him to remove them. And he typically does or will, if they are not a um a part of his plan or part of the purpose, for my life. So he will remove them. And again, you just gotta pray, you gotta listen, but you also have to be ready to accept whatever the answer is that he gives to you as well. And so this season, this part of the becoming, is not a glow up, it's a grow up. Like we have to grow up. So I have some affirmations for the woman becoming her, and I just want you to repeat after me, Queen. I am becoming the woman I prayed for. I release every version of me that no longer serves my future. I am worthy of stability, clarity, and real love. I walk boldly in my healed identity. God is guiding my evolution. I am her, fully, freely, and unapologetically. So, in closing, I want to thank you for joining me in the rain room, where healing happens, crowns are adjusted, and becoming is always in season. So, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you follow, you share, you subscribe, and you listen. You can find the Queen's Court on Apple Podcasts at The Queen's Court. You get to find it on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram at The Queen's Court Pod. And then you can also follow me on TikTok at The Rain Room. I want to say thank you again. I appreciate you being here. And remember, becoming this journey is one that it's not easy, but it is definitely worth it. So until next time, keep becoming and keep reigning.
Thank you for joining us in the Queen's Court today. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and download so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep reigning with purpose and walking in power.